So I think I could just say ditto to what Clarissa said, and we could just have a big party or something, because it's exactly right on. So we get outlines from home office, and the yearly theme is spirituality in action. And the month of March is be truthful in facts and motives. And today is living a spiritual life. And when I heard that, it was like, oh, good. I did say easy, and then I kind of said, no, it's not going to be easy, because I thought I would just talk about all the tools that are out there. And then I realized, or thought about all of you, that nobody here is like a beginner, like they've never heard of spirit, God. They're just kind of opening up to, beginning to, and so it's like, well, what can I tell them that maybe they haven't heard? And then I thought, well, maybe I'll just tell them everything that they've already heard and just go over it again, kind of a refresher course. But I then remembered that after becoming a practitioner, I volunteered to be an assistant in different classes that they had. And in Science of Mind, which is this teaching of Ernest Holmes, is a foundations class. And that's the first class that you have to take before you can take any other classes. And so it's all about the basics. So occasionally I would volunteer, and it's anywhere from 10 to 15 weeks. And every time, no matter how many times, I always either went deeper with, oh, I've heard that before, but I'd heard it this time in a different way. So the beginnings are always nice for me to go back to or to revisit because of the deepening of what was being said, coming from a perspective of something deeper. So basics is always good. It's kind of go back to there. When you think of athletic teams, you know, it's like they practice and practice, they get better and better, and then it's times that, you know, the coach can go, hey guys, you're just sort of out there. You need to come back to basics. Or some of the scientists, you know, that I don't even understand some of the words. You have to look them up. You're like, what are they saying? To remember who you're talking to, who you're talking with, come back to basics. So I thought going over some of the tools would be a nice basic reminder. And these are only a few, because we know there's so much more out there. And of course, one of the big ones, in Science of Mind, and also some of the other cultures, other religions, other spiritually based faiths, is meditation. And we all have a very personal relationship with meditation. Love, hate, it's okay. Oh, I can't meditate because I don't have 20 minutes. It's all kind of, where are you with that? And some of the meditations is you can go to different classes. And we know there's different meditations, a single, like just you, that you have your space, you have the music that you play, you have possibly different rituals that you want to do before you start your meditation. And that's actually very good. It's not necessary, but what it does is it either brings you to that place of then being really receptive to meditation, or it's an excuse that I can't do the meditation because I don't have time for my ritual. So it's like, where are you? What you know, and I think we go in and out of that all the time. But it becomes personal. And then you also know that being in a group where two or more are gathered, that it's a different meditation. There's a different energy around you. And of course, when you're in a building or a group of hundreds, you know, or on New Year's Eve morning at 4 a.m. when we do our peace meditation, that the world is gathering for a worldwide meditation on peace. And if you know anything about energy, and even if you don't, that's a huge, gigantic, almost mind-boggling for me to think of. All of these people on peace, all at the same time. That it has to. My belief and my faith is it has to make a shift. A shift in the universe, a shift on our planet, a shift in me, a shift in my community. So meditation is really one of the foundations of a spiritual life. Some other tools, journaling, and more places or their action is to journal. I used to journal, I occasionally journal. I don't know. It's the love-hate relationship again. Sort of in class, I can do it because that's part of the program, but when I'm at home, it changes. I allow myself to become really distracted. So where is journaling for you? Is that something that works? Is it fun? Do you go back and read it and go, this doesn't make any sense at all? Which is it? Or, oh, I remember that one, and it brings something that you hadn't thought of, an aha. Another is active listening. Not just, standing here and, looking over there, someone's talking to me or talking to you, but being present in that conversation, in that situation, whether it's a one-to-one or, sitting in an audience or somewhere, but of listening with open ears, without judgment, without going, well, I've heard this speaker, or this one has this kind of views, and I don't know. It's more of opening up, allowing whatever they say, whatever they present, as well, of how that affects you. And if something, I call it a hook, something hooks you that you kind of, what? Or you get this little thing up your back, that kind of resistance, is at times we want to push whatever that is on them. Well, they're wrong, or they don't know what they're talking about. And what that really means is, where does that get you? What does that wake you up to? Where in you are you being irritated or frustrated? And to calmly and easily, look at that, to kind of step out of yourself without judgment and looking at, why did that hit me so hard? Why am I opposed? Why do I really agree with that? Whichever, it allows you to go deeper. It's the surface that at first gets you on a visceral level, because that's what kind of wakes you up, to, whoa, take a breath. Okay, what did that mean for me? What does that trigger? And allow an answer. And it may come right then, it may come later, it may come years, you may have totally forgotten, and then someone else says kind of the same thing, and you go, I heard that before, but I'm not triggered by it. Oh, how far have I come? How far have I looked at? And especially looking within. That's part of these tools, is the inward journey that we're looking at, our landscape of what is it today? What is it this moment? Because living in the present, which Eckhart Tolle, has books about, living in the now, being in the now. I read that book. It came out after I was a practitioner, but I was volunteering. I was an assistant again, and I read that and went, oh my gosh. It was like, it was way over my head. It was somewhere, it was, so I keep kind of going back to it, because everybody loves the book, most people do, that I hear. And so I said, it must mean something, because there's too many people that I know, that I respect, that I admire, who, that is a great book. So I just kind of keep going back and going back. It's one of mine that sort of carries through. And most of us probably either have a book, or a person, or an event, or something that's our go-to. One of them. I have many. So do you have one? Do you have a few? But a go-to book that maybe explains it. But living in the now and living in the present is challenging for me. That allowing yourself to be there, to not just exist, like in this moment, I'm just kind of here and, I'll never remember it again. It's being present with who I am as well as you. I have, in the past, up until now, I realized that whenever I took a trip, I went somewhere, one of my favorite places is Yosemite. And I used to be able to go about 3 to 4 times a year. And I noticed, after being in this teaching for a while, because I never noticed it before, I'd go and it's beautiful and it's great and it's, no matter what the weather for me, it doesn't matter. And I go, next time when I come, I'm going to do this hike. Next time I'm going to bring a bigger coat, or whatever. It was always next time, which kept me from being there now, which is like, I'm looking at the next vacation, the next time to Yosemite, whenever, I didn't even have a date, rather than you're in Yosemite right this very second. Where are you? What are you doing? Oh, and I tend to do that. It's an old habit, and I know it's a habit, but I realize it quicker, faster, more readily now when I go there and go, oh, I want to come back in the fall when, that's nice, come back in the fall. You're here now in spring. Look at the falls, look at the water, look at where you are. Look at the people around you, the atmosphere, because those places promote in you a place of oneness, of being with nature, of having it feed your soul, that it enlivens right where you are. I don't have to wait till fall. And of course, you know that when I got there in fall, I was thinking of the winter trip. So it was just this circle until deepening and being with like-minded people, being in a place of introspection of, wow, you do that a lot. What's that about? So it's really an opportunity to look at yourself, to look deeper of what's going on. One of the tools is one of service, of being a volunteer, or service of your presence, supporting someone, coming here today to support me, being of service to me as I am of service to you, and to holding the door open. Sometimes I've looked at, of service, okay, well, let's see, I can volunteer for 6 months, I could, it gets bigger and bigger, that I think I have to make this bigness, this hugeness, which would mean bigger spirituality. There's no bigger spirituality, there's no small, it just is. That your service can be so small and yet so impactful. That a kind word, a smile, being across a stadium or something, or way far away, of looking at someone who may look like they're having a challenging time, of you just centering yourself and sending them love, sending them peace. That it doesn't have to be where it's a big show, it's saving them from the train tracks, which would be nice if they needed saving. But it's in everything that we do. That's the part of what these tools do, of using these to bring about a change within ourselves. Some others is being in nature. I think a lot of us just know that when we're in nature, we are different. I am different. A sunny day, you're like, oh, it's a sunny day, wow. And it can be kind of a cloudy day. I have a friend who likes London and England because it's cloudy and rainy most all the time. And I started to make this face and kind of go, oh, that's lovely for you. It's good to know that about yourself, because that's not mine. So what's not mine doesn't mean it's not somebody else's. It's supporting them where they are, what they're doing. Instead of rushing to go, I stop myself. I go, you need to, wait, you know. They're on their path, and this took me a while of getting that. Start with where they are, which means also start where you are. Don't judge that, you know, you didn't meditate for 20 minutes today, it was only 5. And the judgments, the criticism, you know, to look back at that and just allow that to go. Because this change and these tools that I do, that I bring into my life, is really for me, that then changes and affect who I am, which then affects what's outside of me, you. Even though we are all connected, we're all individuals, but then it opens the space for someone to do the same. It's like opening the space for them to go within deeper, for them to, oh, maybe I will try meditation. Oh, maybe I'll try journaling. Some of the tools that I really like, that I wish was a lot more in my life, is going to spiritual retreats, you know, and having all of these people around us who think alike, that you can sit and jabber with and talk with and discuss different philosophies and theories and what you've learned along the way and what they think. Because other people can spur us, can, you know, wow, I never thought of that. That my limited brain can open up and be open at the top to hear others of how they are, how they live, or what they do. Or why don't you try this? Something that I've never thought about. So discussion and meeting with like-minded people, as well as workshops, and usually they're at some really beautiful places. It's sort of the monk life. It's like I never thought that was very attractive, and then it was like, I don't know, I kind of like to go to a monastery where your whole day, your whole night, your whole everything is immersed in this by what's around me with others, as well as me being in that spot. It's a refresher, it's rejuvenation. It's a filling the bottle that's maybe a little low to just get renewed. So I really like spiritual retreats, especially when there's music. And music's another tool. How often do we put on something we like? Many of us have music on all the time. Others don't. I haven't for a long time, and I used to have music all the time, and it's like, why don't I do that? And I still haven't figured out that reason. So all the tools that they're out there that we can have, just being kind is a tool. Practicing being kind. Also know a Silmar is coming up for Science of Minders in August. It's a huge place at Monterey Carmel area. It's beautiful, it's music, it's people of like-minded, and if you've ever been to Silmar, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous retreat. You can go to silent retreats if you've been called to that. I suggest a short one rather than a long one, just to begin, or, you know, sitting in silence with your meditation. How long can you meditate? When I was over in Santa Rosa, this one woman was able to put a women's retreat together, and it was at a Yogananda retreat out at Point Reyes. And we would meditate for an hour. It was like, I was skeptical as well as sitting for an hour? Are you kidding me? It's like, you know, but I'm willing. It's like, yeah, let's go. Had a great time. We're sitting for an hour, and when it was done, it was like, you're kidding. Really? That was an hour? Oh my God, I can do it. But I did it in a group. I did it with other women with the intention of listening. And it was like this, I mean, just for me to do that, not that my mind was quiet, it was still this, but to sit in that place with intention of meditating. So I kind of suggest, if you're open to different things, is try it in a group. Get a feeling for it, so it gets more and more part of you. Other is mindfulness. Mindfulness of washing the dishes, mindfulness of walking meditation. Just being mindful of your surroundings. What's there? Besides bringing a difference to yourself inside, your body, it's good to know what's happening around you, especially if you live in a city, or you live in an urban area, or if you're driving the car. It's good to be mindful, to not think of the grocery list, of what else needs to be done. Oh, it's church tomorrow. Oh, thank heavens I can slow down. I'm mindful in a loving, spiritual way of my surroundings. Keeps you safe, keeps everybody safe. So mindfulness is not just done in a spiritual community, it's just done everywhere. So all of these tools, and there's more. I mean, I think you know there's more. There's learning to forgive, and the first to forgive is yourself. What that does is forgiving others. There's affirmative prayer. So all of these tools and more, what's for you? It's sort of going and having this, well, for me, it's a jewelry box of different jewels. Which jewel do you want? Oh, I really love and relate to meditation. Oh, I really like walking and meditating. I like going to spiritual retreats. I like going and sitting on the rock by myself. What fits you? It's trying them all on and seeing what you look good in. Do I look good in meditation? Do I look good of sitting in a community and finding community? And all sorts of communities. You know, find one that feels, I'm not sure that right is the correct word, but one that calls you, one that sparks you, one that maybe makes you a little uncomfortable sometimes. To, ooh, what is that about? How much do you want to go inside? You know, I just want a little bit. And sometimes that's okay, because you might be going through an awful lot of things, and it's like, well, I just need a little bit. I've heard of, talked with different people, is for maybe even years, that they've just come and they sat in the back of a church. They get there late, they leave early, so they don't have to talk to anybody, they don't have to communicate. And then after a while, some of what they've been hearing changes, shifts them in consciousness, that allows them to probably be kinder to themselves, love themselves a little bit more gently. Because I really think that we get it down faster, at least I have, for y'all out there to, oh, I can be kind over here in compassion. You know, what would I do for me? You know, I have this, well, you should have, you could have, and why didn't you? And it's like, the committee that's just chatterboxes. It's like, you guys need to leave the committee. I'm going to throw you all off, and instead I'm going to bring in harmony and peace. I'm going to give the president love and love for self. So all of these tools are reminders, are ways of doing, and it becomes who you are. You become that which you were seeking. So they're all available for practice. And when I think of practice, it's like, well, I'll practice until I get good. Well, as we know, practice really never ends. Football team, basketball teams, anything, they don't stop practicing even when they're, quote, the best. The next day, they're on the slopes, they're on the court. What are they doing? Practicing. They're remembering the cell memory that comes from dribbling balls and going down skis and meditating and doing these. It's a memory that you get there like that. Words and smells can do that. And in this book, Mind to Matter, excuse me, by Dawson Church, the foreword is by Dr. Joseph Dispenza. And this is what he writes about practice. Because this is where it comes into daily life and sometimes every moment and every minute. Each time you learn something new, unique possibilities you were not previously aware of open up before you. And as a result, you are changed. This is called knowledge. And knowledge causes you to no longer see things the way they are, but the way you are. This is the process of learning, and the more you learn, the more you make new synaptic connections in your brain. And as you'll learn in this book, recent studies show that just an hour of focused concentration on any one subject doubles the number of connections in your brain related to that subject. The same research tells us that if you don't repeat, review, or think about what you've learned, those circuits prune apart within hours or days. Thus, if learning is making new synaptic connections, remembering is maintaining those connections. So when we practice meditation, practice journaling, practice talking, practice being a spiritual being. So those are the tools of helping us to live a spiritual life. What is living a spiritual life? Here's very brief description, and we know that this spiritual can be a class for a year. So I believe most of you have your idea of what spiritual is. And this is conscious connection with one's true self, to be self-aware of something that's greater than ourselves, greater than our imagination, beyond what our human mind can come up with. Spiritual is sensing a power in the universe, a feeling of oneness, of God, the universe. It's an emotion throughout our bodies and our senses of our lives. It's an experience. It's alive. It's vibrant. So I believe, one of the biggies, we may call this number one, but whichever it is, learning and expressing love. It fuels all of our experiences. It energizes the essence of who we truly are. So Michael Beckwith has this to say about love. Love. You're not meant to wait for it. You're not meant to search for it. You were meant to generate it. Ernest Holmes, in one of his many, love is within. It cannot be destroyed. It cannot be ignored. To the extent that we abandon love, we will feel it has abandoned us. Denying love is our only problem, and embracing it is the only answer. Through the power of love, we can let go of past history and begin again. Love heals, forgives, and makes us whole. So forgiveness, another tool that we can have, that we do have. And it's living in that awareness. It's a conscious divine essence that's in within us. So we need to be aware, awake, and conscious when we express life. I believe that's sort of the coming in the fog of, okay, I know where I am, to, I am right here. I know it. I see it. I feel it. What is happening to me? It's a discipline that requires or needs to be done every day. all the time, of listening, feeling the presence. That feeling creates those synapses, creates body memory, cell memory, and it brings us to a place of wholeness. And then it's not a creative, it is a creative intelligence that lives within me. If it lives within me, it lives within everyone, everything, every situation, and I perceive it. I'm aware of it. We're aligning ourselves with that intention. We're living that. It becomes just who we are, becomes our essence. Michael Beckwith says, if you are not consciously directing your life, you will lose your footing and circumstances will decide for you. How strong is your footing? If it's off, how quickly do you recover? How quickly do you remember who you are? What's going on? What can I do to put my footing, myself back in that essence of spirit? Also, belief and faith is part of living a spiritual life. Ernest Holmes says, in interesting things about the mind, about faith, why is that faith is the strongest mental attitude? I had no idea that faith was the strongest mental attitude. Because it is positive, therefore it makes an absolute impression upon your consciousness. So in stating that no thought can reach you except the thought of absolute good, the more faith you have, the more positive will your conviction be. It does not need to be strenuous, just an easy, perfect faith. I always sometimes think it has to be work. It's such work. And at times for me, which is what I do, is I do that. And it's like, remember. It's easier to be in allowing. It's living a spiritual life as a process. It's not a destination. It's not, meditation's done, I've done my spiritual work, I'm out of here. And then for the rest of the day, I am unconscious. It's being aware and conscious. It's cooperating with God, that it's the God within us that we accept. And we accept and manifest this in our feeling, in our life, in our experience. We are here to grow, to change, to develop and unfold. Living a spiritual life is that. We open, we allow, we surrender, we embody all that God is. And in that opening, we come to realize that there's more and deeper and deeper. It's seeing the divine spark everywhere we look, in experiences, and they're transformed from pain to gifts. Seeing that struggle that you might have been through, getting through it in better ways than without living a conscious life. It's like, how do you rate your spiritual life? Some days, pretty good. Some days, fabulous and awesome. And other days are, I didn't even think of God once. I didn't even think of that. Does your life need to be refurbished? Do you need to do different things? Bring in different elements? It's all up to you. It's all where you want to go in your alignment and your consciousness with spirit. These rituals, these daily tools allow us to practice and practice. And soon it becomes who you are. It's not a question of, oh, I haven't prayed yet, I will. It's you're praying all the time. You're in that field of expectation. In closing, another quote from Ernest. Ernest is the founder of religious science, science of mind. If we can first come to sense that the human and the divine are the same thing, that the mind we use in our human reasoning is merely as much of that mind which we call divine as we are able to use. We shall find that the practice of spiritual life is the most normal, natural, and spontaneous thing. We also realize that everywhere we look, we are going to learn something. No matter where you are in life, it's never too late to put your feet on a conscious spiritual path. You practice the tools that you have, you learn some more, you incorporate that might be a little uncomfortable, to be open to it and to receive. And forgive yourself for being human. It's part of the walk. It's part of one foot in the divine and the other walking the human road. They cannot be separated. There's only oneness. The more you live toward and of the divine, the easier and more fun your journey is. So in closing, an affirmation could be, I live in and from love, God. I choose the divine path, no matter the road signs. Namaste.